I think that's the main thing that people freak out about, what's it going to be like, and they have this preconception of it's going to be really full on in the first session and I have to say everything and anything. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Psych with SOKZ. Today I want to talk to you about what to expect in your first session of seeing a psychologist. Now, I've asked a lot of you on Instagram how you feel about actually going to see a psychologist and what are your fears about having that first session. What are your expectations? And a lot of people are really scared about that first initial meeting with a psychologist. They don't know what to expect and they don't know how to feel about it and what information that they should share in that first initial session. So if you want to know what to expect in your first session of seeing a psychologist, keep watching. Also, make sure that you subscribe to my channel so you can see all of the videos that I post. Hit that bell notification button so that you are alerted every time I upload a new video. Now, I am so excited about the inquiries that I've gotten about seeing me in session, and I want to kind of clear up what you should expect in that first initial session. Now, of course, every psychologist is going to do things a little bit differently, and every clinic or medical center is going to have their own policies and procedures for that initial session. But for the most part, I'm going to tell you how I would conduct a first initial session, and a lot of my friends that are psychologists kind of have the same notion as to how we organize you for that first session. So when you book your appointment with a psychologist, you come with your mental health care plan, your Medicare card, and a saving or check account that you can get your rebate from Medicare back on. So if a clinic or medical center has a high caps machine, which is directly linked to the Medicare rebate, if you have a credit card, you won't be able to get that gap back onto the credit card. But if you're using a saving or a check account, you can definitely get that rebate straight back into your account, the gap fee. So how I like to conduct initial sessions is I like to give the client about 90 minutes, so an hour and a half, to be able to have that first initial meeting, get things out of the way, and then start a session. Not everyone does it that way, but I feel like 90 minutes is a good time frame to be able to get to know each other on a personal level, and then of course speak about the things that we need to speak about in session. A lot of the time we have a initial consultation questionnaire, which basically runs through your details, so date of birth, address, etc., all that stuff, but also really speaking about what the external factors are in your life. So people that you live with, your relationship status, religious beliefs, anything that really is going to give us an overview of what's going on and how your life is set up, really. So a lot of the time with psychology, we like to know the extenuating factors of your life, not just the issues or the concerns that you have, but things that could potentially be factors contributing to your issue or concern. So a lot of the time I fill out that questionnaire and then I go through it with the client so we can elaborate on any of the information that you've given us. So we speak about using substances, we speak about family dynamics, we speak about relationships, previous incidents to mental health issues, if there's a family background of mental health disorders, anything that is really going to help us paint a picture of what's going on. So I go through that initial questionnaire with you and I really just try and see a scope of things and really map out what's going on in your life. So with the initial consultation, I think it's really about understanding and building that therapeutic alliance with your psychologist and your client, and making sure that we both feel comfortable in the situation. Sometimes you're not going to really resonate with your psychologist, and then you'll find out in that initial consultation that this might not be for you or this might not be the right match for you, and then you can go and find another psychologist. We like to really use that initial consultation to be able to get to know each other and understand that we understand each other, and then go from there. So using that questionnaire to really map out what's going on, and then I ask some very general questions about life. So your eating habits, your exercise, what stressful situations you have in your life, what's your current relationship or family dynamic, and those are the things that are going to be triggers, I guess, for your issues or concerns of whatever you've come to therapy for. So if I'm dealing with anxiety, for example, a lot of the things that trigger anxiety can be mapped out when we speak about the larger picture and not just the symptoms of anxiety, but why the anxiety is occurring, what the trigger or the focal points of that anxiety is, and how we can manage it then. Because a lot of the time when we talk about treatments and therapies, we really want to customize every treatment to every individual potential patient or client. So we want to really know the ins and outs of life in general. So in that first initial session, it's really just trying to get to know you and trying to map out the external factors of your life, the stresses, the triggers, the protective factors, precipitating factors, all of the things that really would contribute to that concern or that issue that you've come to therapy for. So I think a lot of the time you just need to let loose in that first session and really just talk generally about your life, things that are concerning for you, things that are positive in your life, things that are negative in your life, things that you want to just hash out on the table on that day. And being able to build that therapeutic alliance and build that rapport is so important in that first session, because it's going to set the tone for your subsequent sessions. And building that relationship with your psychologist is really going to help your progress throughout the weeks in therapy. So I think that's the overview of things, that really it's just getting to know each other, getting to know a lot of the different things that are going on in your life, your triggers, things like that, and especially your protective factors, things that you have that support you and are able to help you along the way. And so that we really speak about things that are going to aid you in your progress of your therapy. So don't freak out at all. The first session is really just getting to know you and getting to know the ins and outs of your life and trying to paint a picture about what we're going to do in therapy. So sometimes in the first session, we're not going to necessarily talk about what's going on in a full scope of things, and we may not choose a therapy option on that day, but it's really just trying to get an overview of things. And then in the subsequent sessions, we'll then delve into things that are really going on. But I think that's the main thing that people freak out about, what's it going to be like, and they have this preconception of it's going to be really full on in the first session and I have to say everything and anything. And remember, in the first session we always tell you your rights as a client, and we tell you that we have a duty of care to you, of course, and that everything is confidential in this session. The only time that we can disclose information without your consent is if our notes are subpoenaed by the courts. So if you are involved in a court matter and our notes have been subpoenaed, then we need to disclose that information that we've taken on in session without your consent. Of course, you'll be advised, but it won't necessarily be your consent needed for that information to be released to the courts. Another reason why I would break that confidentiality or that privacy is if we fear that you are going to self-harm or you're going to harm somebody else. So we really need to contact emergency services, for example, so that information would be released without your consent if we feared for your safety or the safety of somebody else. Other than that, the information that you share with a psychologist stays within those four walls, and you need to really have a trusting relationship with your psychologist and know that all of your information is confidential. It's not judged in any way, shape or form, and we don't have any biases against anything that you tell us. It's merely a place to release everything that you need off your chest and into the open, and being able to work through those issues and those concerns that you have. And having a trusting relationship with your psychologist is really important in building that rapport, and having a good therapeutic alliance with your psychologist is so important. So make sure when you choose a psychologist, that first initial session, you really vibe out that energy and you see if you feel connected with that psychologist. If you feel like things are a little bit off or they don't make sense to you, please speak to someone about it and see other people's experiences, or alternatively get yourself another psychologist. But all in all, that's really what you're going to be doing in your first session, as well as probably some screeners that you may have already done at your doctor's, the K10 or the DAS, if you've watched my previous video on how to see a psychologist. I put the link below if you want to check that out. But really, it's going to be some screeners and just trying to get a full coverage view of what's going on. So don't panic and use it to your advantage. Get everything off your chest, and then it's going to help you really progress through your therapy and the weeks to come. So I hope I answered some of your questions. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments section if you want to know anything else about seeing a psychologist or your first session, and I will answer it as soon as I can. You have been watching another episode of Psych with SOKZ. I'll see you next week.